Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in this world. I am Althea Walters, the host of the Focused and Fulfilled podcast. Now, on this podcast, we speak to various persons who, would have gone through different challenges in life, both in life, work, and business, and they're now here to share their stories with us so that we can learn from them. What a great way to learn as well. And today, my guest is Nicole Howson. And Nicole, I am so happy to have you, Nicole, on this show. So Nicole is a mental health advocate, and Nicole is also the owner of AIM Social, which is a social marketing company. And I am now going to hand over to Nicole. She's going to tell us a little bit more about herself, and then she's going to go into her story of, the mental health advocacy. Thank you, Nicole, and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. So I am, as you said, the owner of AIM Social. We're a social media marketing company. So we work with businesses to help them with their online marketing. And I've been doing that for about 8 years. So it's been a lot of fun and lots of ups and downs as it is with running your own business. So that's kind of where I am now. But my mental health journey started a long time ago, but my advocacy started about 8 years ago. So I love being able to share this story just because I learned so much through the process, and hopefully other people will get stuff out of it without having to live through it.
Exactly. So 8 years ago, Nicole, that sounds pretty, it has been a journey for you. So I would love to know, and I know my audience would love to know a little bit more. What was the first point that you realized that there were mental health issues that you had to deal with?
Yeah. So I want to say 14 or 15 when I was diagnosed with anxiety and soon after depression. So we didn't really understand it at that time. A lot of people weren't talking about it. So I went untreated. And it wasn't until 2014 that I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
Okay.
So that was a big turning point because I suddenly had a name for all the feelings that I was feeling and all the reasons I was going through everything that I was going through. So it really did help.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So at 14 or 15, you were diagnosed with anxiety and depression, right? And that was so early for you. That was so early for you. But I guess you and your etc. would have realized that something would have been happening, and so that led to the diagnosis. But what I just heard you said that for a while you didn't understand what was happening. You didn't understand what was happening, and it remained untreated.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then so many of us, who would have been experiencing mental health issues, it remains untreated for a while. Isn't that so?
Yeah, it's very, very common, unfortunately.
Yes. Okay. So tell us, going through this journey before 2014, what were some of the signs that you would have been experiencing?
So I didn't have my first panic attack until I was in my late teens, but as a teenager, I dealt with like the racing thoughts and the fast beating heart and the sweaty hands and the think like stage fright all the time for no reason. You're like, why am I acting this way? I don't know.
Exactly.
Scared of life. I don't know. It made no sense. And then I had periods of time where I was really, really, really great. Which we now understand that with bipolar disorder, you have times where you're manic and when you're depressed. So I had really, really high, great times where I was doing all sorts of things and volunteering. And one summer, I wanted to get this special award for volunteer work. So I did 500 hours of volunteer work in one summer. Like, wow. I loved it.
Yeah.
So that was the Nicole everybody loved to see. But then there was this other Nicole that would show up every once in a while who couldn't get out of bed or would like barely exist, who people would have to remind her to smile when she was like around people because I was just so like done. I was struggling with self-harm and an eating disorder and everything else, and it just it's hard to look back and see how much pain I was in without any of the treatment that could have happened.
Yeah, exactly. I can understand that. And so the signs that you just shared, the panic attacks that started to happen to you, the thoughts of self-harm and the eating disorders, they were visible signs that were there for you, right?
Yeah.
And but I also heard there were two different persons operating body, two different persons operating in the same mind. The one that was at one extreme was the higher achiever, anything, you could do anything, you get up and you could do anything. And then there was another time when you just didn't want to do life.
Yeah.
You just didn't want to do life. And I'm guessing that was something painful for you to go through.
Absolutely.
And not everybody understood it.
No, a lot of people believed that was just me being a moody teenager or just being in that phase of life, not really understanding that there was more going on.
Yeah, okay. So that in itself would have led you to what became difficult for you to do. The simple things that became difficult would have been what when you were in that state?
Oh gosh. Anything more than like bare minimum. So like getting up and going to school, like I wouldn't pack a lunch. I wouldn't like I would shower, but like I wasn't like there was no over and above and beyond where before I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna paint my nails and I'm gonna match them to my clothes, and no, couldn't care less. Like just put me in a hoodie, wet damp hair, I'm gonna go to school, I don't care. Completely different like situation, just because I felt like I had no energy and no will to do anything that I didn't have to do.
Okay, totally understandable. And during those times when you would have been experiencing that, did you have community support, as in family, friends? Did you have that kind of support who wanted to support you during that journey?
In a sense, yes. Nobody really understood what me having anxiety or depression meant. I had a doctor who didn't offer me any medication or anything to support me in it. So we thought, we're Christian household, we're going to pray it away, and praying it away didn't work. So clearly there's something wrong with me. And obviously that's not true at all, not even close. But that's what I truly believed, because I'd done everything to try to overcome it, and I wasn't. So unfortunately, I didn't have the support that I could have had. But I don't think at that point in time, a lot of people weren't talking about it, and there wasn't those supports for anyone at that point. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So fast forward, we're operating in a world, that we're celebrating Mental Health Day, we're doing all of these things in relation to mental health. And I'm so happy currently occurring, because there are many persons who need the help, who the signs that you shared with us, persons even around them may not be noticing the signs, right? Some persons are still going untreated. Some persons are still going untreated, but more persons are being very observant and aware of how to deal with mental health, or to look out for persons who need mental health support. So I guess that you going through your situation would have brought you to the point that, look, I am now one of the biggest mental health advocates. There are people who you are helping by even sharing your story. And I'm sure you are doing much more in terms of continuing to help persons. How is that part of the new Nicole going for you?
It's going so good. I started a mental health blog. I don't currently do anything with it other than pay for the domain and everything, so it'll stay up there forever.
Don't worry, it's a big start.
But no, it has hundreds of articles on there talking about mental health and my stories and stories of other people who struggled with mental health. And so I ran this for, I want to say 5 or 6 years, and we posted like 20 articles a month. So so much content there. And I did that for a while. It was called defyingshadows.com, and we put all that there because I wanted people to be able to get the support and help that they need. I write for The Mighty now, which they talk about chronic illness and mental health and all that fun stuff. So I write for them on occasion. And then I do a lot of podcasts like this where I talk about my story and my journey,
Right.
and what I learned and everything. And just remind people that there's a better tomorrow.
Oh, lovely. I love that. So your mental health blog, did you say defyingshadows.com?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So I'll put it in the show notes so people can actually go there. And you do podcasting, and you also write different articles for different places. That's absolutely great, because you continue to make such a great impact and contribution to the world. The world needs you, Nicole.
Yes.
So I'm happy about that. What are if you had to share two tips, two tips that you would leave with persons who are struggling with mental health, what would be those two big tips?
Okay, so the first one would be ask for help. And I know that this one, it seems so obvious at times, but when we're really struggling, really hard, especially if you ask for help and you don't get the help you need right away.
Yes.
So keep asking for help until you get the support that you need. Find a doctor, get on a wait list for a psychiatrist, talk to anybody and everybody who will listen to you about it until somebody supports you and helps you get where you need to be. So ask for help. The second thing I would say is don't be afraid of things like medication and therapy. I know like there can be a stigma about it. There was a stigma when I first started taking my meds, and a family member said to me, "Oh, but you won't have to take those forever." And knowing now, yeah, I know I have bipolar disorder. I will take them forever. And totally be okay with that. Right. Because they keep me healthy. So it's the same as me wearing glasses. I'm not going to just walk around without glasses on because, don't want to wear them all the time. It's the same thing. So don't be afraid of medication, or the stigma around medication or therapy. Therapy is amazing. I don't even know how many hours I dedicate to therapy every year, but it's wonderful.
Great. So those are two excellent tips. Continue asking for help. And help looks like continue speaking to persons who will listen. Help looks like get on a wait list to see a psychiatrist if one is not available immediately, and reaching out to a doctor so that they can help you. And I am grateful for that, for you sharing. And then number two, you share that don't be afraid of therapy and taking medication. And that's a big thing, because as you say, it's not only that, is a consistency in taking the medication, because you may take it and you get to a point where you feel like you have recovered, and then you stop, and then you go back to where you started. So consistency in taking the medication is great and should be something that is practiced. So thank you for sharing those tips. Now, I know that through the COVID pandemic, and we went through all of these areas, but there are coping mechanisms that persons would have had to go through, especially during that time. Are there any coping mechanisms that you applied to your life, or you learned along the way to help persons with mental health issues? Were there anything like that?
So one of the things that I suggest people do is when you are in a good place, because it's very hard to do when you're not, When you're in a good place, write down your steps on how you're going to approach the issue of I'm in a bad place. What are the steps that you're going to take? Who do you need to talk to? What doctors do you need to call? What's the number of the crisis center if that's what you need to do? All of these steps. And so I have like a little one where it's like, if I'm having a bad day, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to make a tea. I'm going to call friends. And then a bigger one where it's like, I'm having suicidal thoughts. So I'm going to call my psychiatrist and call a crisis center if I don't feel like I can keep myself safe, and go to the hospital if I need to. And having all of those built out, because honestly, when you're in a bad place, forget trying to come up with an actual plan as to how to take care of yourself. It's too much. And I wouldn't expect that from anybody, to be able to pull themselves through that without some support. So do it while you're healthy, put it on a piece of paper, keep it somewhere in your house that you can pull it out when you're having a bad day and go, okay, what are we doing first?
Yes. Yeah, I like that. The orderly steps, and do it while you're healthy, and do it while you're in a good place. Though that's a really solid tip that you're leaving for the audience, because, and it's just as you're saying, keep the reminders, keep it somewhere where okay, I'm in a bad place. Let me go and pull this out. Let me go and look at this. Look at my notepad, my bright sunny notepad. All of these things will help you. So thank you very much for sharing that coping mechanism. Now, Nicole, you are the owner of a social marketing company. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so AIM Social started 8 years ago. Actually, after I moved home, I attempted suicide twice, and then needed something to do while I recovered and something I could do from home. So I started my social media marketing company at that point. And I started off with one little client, and I did that. I went to school for marketing. And by the time I graduated, I had enough client base that it didn't make sense to shut it down and get a job at an agency somewhere. So off I went, and I've been doing it ever since. So I've been running the company, like I said, for 8 years. And learned how to manage my mental health while running a business. And I know for other business owners in the process of being able to build their lives the same way.
That's excellent. And I can realize, I saw all the smiles on your face when you were talking about, doing your social media marketing. So it is something that brings you joy and fulfillment, I am assuming.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's one of my favorite things.
Wonderful. I could see it, Nicole. So you're on your journey of, continuing to share mental health tips here, to advocate, to help persons along the way, and to also, of course, manifest in another way through your company that you do social media marketing. So I am so grateful for you. I'm so happy that, we spoke, and there are some great tips that you left with us in terms of for mental health support, for coping mechanism, all of these things. So Nicole, how do we find you? Where do we find you?
You can find me anywhere by searching my name. My username on almost every platform is Nicole Howson. Just don't forget the H in Nicole, because I'm fancy like that.
Yes.
But yeah, you can find me anywhere on there. You can find my business website. We have a shorter link. It's readyaimsocial.com, and you can find us all our information there too as well.
Okay, wonderful. So again, it was my absolute pleasure to host you, Nicole. I enjoyed the conversation. I know my audience will also enjoy the conversation, and I did learn a lot from you in the time that we have spent. So thank you again. Good evening, good night, good morning to everyone who is listening. Again, I was your host, Althea Walters. I'm a corporate trainer, a productivity and business coach, and my guest was Nicole Howson, a mental health advocate and also the owner of a social media marketing, AIM Social. So you will have all the information in my show notes. And again, thank you very much.